Hi, and welcome back to my site. One of the things I guess I kind of wanted to mention, we've been learning a bunch of different concepts, and we're a good ways into the the playlist right now on how to read music. And when you're this far into the playlist, we're actually going to start dealing with you. You really can deal with sort of a pretty vast library of music now. We've got sort of the tools to figure out and to at least analyze and play uh, a pretty good variety of music right now. Really, kind of, I don't want to say that this is all we're going to do from here on out in this playlist, but what I really think that we should do a lot of, and we are going to do a lot of, is we're going to look at a lot of examples from actual music. We're going to look at a lot of, this is taken from a transcription that I did a while ago. And we're going to take a look at it, and we're actually in this example. One of the things that we're going to try to do, this example has. Let me actually see if I can do this. There we go. Oh, good, I can. This example has actually got, there's kind of as usual, I guess, a bunch of additional information, and we've got a 5-line staff, which again we haven't really learned how to figure out what notes are what yet, and I'm intentionally doing that because I think it's good that we try to, once we really have a great handle on how to read rhythm, everything else is really going to be pretty simple, I think. Anyway, though, we do have this extra information, and we've got, the 5-line staff and all of that. And what I think, one of the things I kind of want to do in this video is I want to try doing one video where we're still going to analyze the rhythm and get through the rhythm, but we're not going to go through and write this down. We're not going to take the rhythm out of context. We're just going to leave it in this form with these 5 lines. And we're just trying to deal with the rhythm. We're not trying to figure out, we're not trying to figure out what note this is, and this is higher up on the staff than these notes are down here. We're not trying to figure out any of that. All we're trying to look at is the rhythm. And actually, one thing I'm just going to do real quick, there. This note, this dotted half note had been tied over from a previous bar, so I figured I'd just erase that real quick so it looked a bit cleaner, and I think it does now. Anyway, so this is an 8-measure example, and I'll also take out these bar numbers. So this started at measure 17 of a transcription that I did, but I'm going to take those out for right now just because we want this to look as clean as possible. So there we go. And now we're going to put in our bead analysis like we've been doing in the other playlists. So I'm going to keep going. I think there were a few videos where I wasn't labeling the rests in blue in there. So I'm going to try to keep doing that. I'm going to try to keep labeling beats where we have a rest. I'm going to try to keep labeling those in blue so that kind of have a bit of standardization with our analysis. But anyway, let's go through and label this. Also, by the way, I hope you can see this note. It might be kind of difficult to make out, but this is a dotted half note. This note right here, if you can see. It's got an open note head, and that's a dot, but it's on a ledger line, so you might not be able to see it. But this is a dotted half note, like that. Okay, so anyway, because it's a dotted half note, how many beats does it get? Oh, and we are, also by the way, we are in 4/4 time. I should mention that too. That this piece is in 4/4 time. The time signature is at the beginning of the piece, and I kind of took this example from the middle. So anyway, we're in 4/4 time. So a dotted half note gets, if you remember from our exercise on dots, you take whatever the dot is, whatever type of note has the dot, and you take, that something plus an additional half of that something. If you remember what we were, if you remember the videos on dotted rhythms, so half note is worth 2 beats, and we add 1/2 of 2, so it's 2 plus 1, which is equal to 3. So this dotted half note is going to get beats 1, 2, and 3. So let's write that down. 1, and then 2 and 3 go in our no man's land. 2 and 3. There we go. And then in blue, we're going to put down beat 4 because we've got this quarter rest right here. So we're going to label that quarter rest as happening on beat 4. There we go. So that's our first measure. And let me just clean up this stuff up here, because this is generally review up here, this stuff on dots. So I'm just going to erase this and this right here. Okay, there we go. So anyway, moving on to the next measure, we start with, what kind of rest is this? So this is, hopefully you can see that. It might be a little small, but this is an 8th rest. And because we're going to play it on the downbeat, I'm going to label this in blue right now. So this is beat 1 right there. And then we play our upbeat of beat 1. That's this 8th note right here, because we have an 8th rest, and our upbeat of beat 1 comes there. So that'll eventually get our green arrow when we go through. But for right now, let's label the other beats. So we have beat 1 and right here, that comes on the and then so beat 2 happens on this 8th note. Go. Beat 2. 2 and then we've got a quarter note. So this 8th note's tied over to a quarter note. So our beat 3 goes right here. 3, and then that takes up all of beat 3, so then we have beat 4 right here, beat 4, and we have a 4 and because we have 8th note here, okay, and that's the beats for this measure. So we move on, and we've got another, this whole measure, even though we've got this tie into it, it's the same as this first measure, isn't it? Well, so we're just going to label 1. Oh, let me clean that up. 1, and then our 2 and 3 are in no man's land again. So 2, 3, and then beat 4 is going to be blue. Beat 4, because it's over a rest. And then we've actually got a pretty similar start to this measure as we had in this measure, because we start with an 8th rest. So this will happen on beat 1. And then what happens after that? Well, we've got this dotted quarter note. And this might be the first time, I think, that we've seen a dotted quarter note. So I just want to have a little bit of an aside on what a dotted quarter note is. So if you remember our rule for having anything with a dot is equal to that something plus an additional half of whatever that something is. So if we have a dotted quarter note like that, that's equal to quarter note plus, what's a half of a quarter note, or what takes up the amount of time of half of a quarter note? An 8th note, right? There. So this is going to equal, let me clean that up. So this is going to equal the amount of space of 3 8th notes, isn't it? Because this quarter note is equal to 2 8th notes plus another 8th note. So we have 3 8th notes here, right? So then what? And then in this example, we start this out with an 8th rest. So we've got how many 8th notes? Just, let me clean that up, just in this little section right here. Well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 with that dotted quarter note, okay? Oh, I'm out of time right now, so we'll continue this example into the next video. Thanks so much for watching.